launching.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, man.
Episode 13.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Let's go,
Let's
man.
just jump right into it and
Yeah.
let's get the conversation started.
Yeah, so I had a few quotes I actually wrote down during this week. Interesting thing is today I actually have my journal beside me. So I don't know why, but I wanted to bring it over with me while I'm recording, or just jot down notes and everything while I'm recording this podcast. Because one thing that I see that's, I don't know about you, Denyin, but like for me, this podcast is also kind of like verbal journaling in a sense, with someone who can actually listen and understand my perspective, and also tell me differences that I have, or certain things that I have to improve in, or certain lessons that or mistakes that I don't see and that I have to learn from, that kind of thing. So that's how I see it, and that's why I have this journal with me, because it allows me to sort of document this process.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sort of like express the thinking to more so like a deeper level than what we already do.
Exactly.
So are you gonna just keep it all in words, or are you gonna do maybe like a bit of a visual journal? Or what's the plan?
Uh,
What's the
for now, like
final
I'm
plan?
a really, to be honest, I'm a really like audible. I'm into, because my background. I was into music. I play guitar. I'm more of like an audible guy, so I need to like listen to something over and over again to have it like programmed inside of me. Images, like I wasn't really that good at it, but like recently, I'm starting to see how like pictures, images are actually like really have a big impact on memory. Like some people are photogenic, for example, or not photogenic. They have a
Graphic.
photographic
Yeah.
memory. So yeah,
And it's
I'm
also,
kind of
I
more
find it
audible.
interesting to see like the correlation between the memory and also like people's memory as well, and how useful their skill is in like a certain area. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that for an example, like how you said you're very much involved in like you were very much involved in the music of it all, and compared to like how easily can you remember songs and pictures and that sort of stuff.
so exactly, like when I write things down or when I say things, when I really focus on the sound of it and like the way it's said, that's where it's kind of like programming it. It's like sort of like coding it inside of my mind. It's like it sort of goes also with the mindset. Like if you repeat positive words, positive affirmations again and again in your mind, and that's how you start your day, you're gonna see those things happen, like, or manifest uh, throughout the day. Like because your mind's gonna notice it more. You're telling your mind to see it more. So yeah.
I agree with that to an extent, but also as I've mentioned previously, it's also I reckon adding physical action, also raw action, raw physical action, also like let's just say 10x it and increases the probability because you're more so than just believing and saying it.
Yeah,
Increase the power in doing so by like a
exactly.
multitudinal.
So yeah, you add like a to-do list to your journal. That's what I do usually. Like sometimes, some days I wake up, not all the time, but some days I put to-do lists in my journal, and then I say, okay, these are the things, especially on like important days. And then other times I go really lightly on the journal. I just, yeah, exactly, just words of affirmation. Because like if you, I don't know, I realize if you do to-do lists every single day, of course it's gonna get you closer to your goal and your destination. Like, don't get me wrong, you have deadlines. You're respecting your time. You're respecting what the tasks you've said you were going to do, and all those things, and you actually manage to do them, and you reach the milestone, or you reach the goal, end of quarter, end of year, or end of month, whatever time frame you set your goal to be. So yeah, I mean, it's still part of the mindset, right? It's part of the vision.
Also, I'm just thinking a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Just because shouldn't there be like a mix of like two or three different to do lists? Like I was thinking for one for like daily, one for more so like monthly or yearly, and then one for one set multiple years out in the future, just because we're thinking on the long term here.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that for an example.
Yeah. I think that's actually that's a really good idea to have multiple. Now you're looking at it from like multiple time framed to do lists. So like you said, one for my life, one for my week, one for my year, one for my day, right? So you have like different time frames that you want to achieve certain tasks, right? That's
Yeah,
that's a good I mean that's a good variation of. Not gonna lie, it's really nice. You can also have like to-do lists where you're looking at it from different areas of your life. For example, I wanted to improve in my career. Here's a to-do list for it, and then you break it down to the time, to the timeline when the time frame that you want to achieve a certain goal for that career. And then there's also
yeah.
like financial goals, like I want to have a certain amount in my bank by this time, or this period in this within this period have achieved these financial, you can say, responsibilities, taking care of a house, a car, providing for a family, etc. And then you can also have goals for your physical, right? Like calisthenics, or if you're into yoga, flexibility, uh, you
I
know,
think flexibility and calisthenics are important no matter who you are, though.
yeah, because it's
Just because you,
functional.
yeah, it's just
It's
functioning.
longevity, exactly. It's functional training. It's longevity. You're right. But okay, like for example, if you're sports, you want to become an Olympic athlete, or you want to become the best in your city or the best in your country, national. You have a certain task to do. Uh, Relationships, right? You can. There's goals for that, right? How well am I able to interact with with strangers, with my neighbor? Am I giving them their due respect? Am I treating them the best I can? Even with my parents, right? Same thing. Like you have a relationship goals, or even like your partner, future partner, whatever. So there's also that approach to doing it, right? There's different
But
ways.
also, I'm just thinking sometimes it's also the goal just to maintain and just to stabilize the relationship in, let's just say, some periods of focus as well.
Yeah,
Just
I
thinking
agree with that.
about all your eggs in the other baskets. You can just try and like have like maybe a to do list of like one or two, maybe even three things you've got to do over that time span of a week just to maintain.
Actually, that's really nice. I mean, I've seen like long-term relationships last where, okay, yeah, they're planning a date for a certain time, birthday, anniversary, Thanksgiving, Valentine's, even like end of month, end of week dates, right? Like
Yeah.
those are really nice because I think those are really where a relationship is based on discipline and not just emotion. Because you're doing the date and you're setting your mind to treat this person the best you can, right? The best you can provide, for them in terms of everything you can give out, like their emotions, their well-being, their mental health, their physical health, their spiritual, you know.
I still reckon emotions also are technically more so the core of what you're just saying because it has to do with their mental and technically as well their spiritual as and also their physical. Because
Yeah,
obviously, as we know, those three categories just link to a massive degree.
yeah, 100%.
And also, if you do activities like gym, or if you've got maybe like like let's just say you've got like maybe you're walking the dog or something with like your parents or something, it's still maintaining that relationship while doing something that physically improves both your guys' lives. Yeah, I'm just thinking it's sort of like it sort of works like categories of friends that you have, like like the stuff like the friends you can do free stuff with, or the friends you can only do paid stuff with because they're like they're more so friends with you for the activity, whereas the free stuff is more so friends with you for you, if you know what I mean. I
To
just
your personal development. Whereas paid stuff is more like you're trying to develop in a certain area. It could be professional, it could be somewhere where you're trying to compete later on, or you're trying to scale up seriously, then you start paying for it, right?
yeah.
Makes
But
sense.
obviously each has its own use, and it's just providing, an example and how to approach it. If yeah, approach it.
Yeah, I see. 100%. So yeah, my bad. Let me just adjust this thing. I don't know why. Okay, I'm trying to get like. Okay, good. So yeah, cool. Good to reflect on these things. I had a few things, in mind too. When I like a few things that I wrote in mind is more so my lifestyle and where I'm at. Actually, not just me, but like a lot of guys in my boat. They have this lifestyle they're trying to maintain, and they're working on stability.
Yeah,
The thing is, you're always going to have these restraining forces preventing you or challenging you to maintain whatever you have in your hands, right? So it's like
yeah,
you should you should also have in mind or keep track or accountability of the bad habits that every human being has, like just the bad habits, and kind of have to-do list, or not just that, but like a whole framework set up to slowly get rid of these bad habits. So it could be like whatever, you wake up and for some reason you feel lazy in the morning, like, and it's happening consistently, or you come back home after a long day of work, and the first thing you do is like binge watch Netflix or scroll on TikTok for I don't know how long, like 30 minutes to an hour, and your
yeah.
brain's just on high dopamine and you're not doing anything, right? So these are just like habits that you have that you can easily replace with something better, right? Like reading a book in that time, or socializing with people in the gym, more productive, and you're working out, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, I need to, do something that has to be hard. It can be like less hard, but still better than the bad habit, right?
I'd still reckon it's better going all in than just doing like a tinkering 50-50, unless you're leveling up multiple skills at once. Like, as you said, in the gym, let's just say you're doing like really good workout, but also you're leveling up your social, or maybe you're cold approaching or something. I'm just, and then you
Yeah,
just tinker it down a little bit because you understand you're gonna use a bit of energy for, let's just say, cold approaching. But I'm just,
yeah.
not most people, you shouldn't have to. However, it's just a more of a conservative approach to what you're saying, I reckon.
Like, what do you mean in terms of what? In terms of interaction?
No, I just mean in terms of energy consumption.
Oh,
Because if you think about it, these days we practically got endless calories and pretty much endless sources of energy. So then it's like you've got more so the reason and the ability to, let's just say, go all out in your workout, or even like cold approach and just try your absolute best, or even hit another workout after your workout. Or I'm just
yeah,
thinking of stuff at the top of my head.
yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. I guess it's more so like, yeah, I see what you mean. It makes sense. I agree with what you said, but it's also like doing it in a way that's like you are sort of focused on, okay, I have this energy, I gotta dispense it, I gotta put it out. Even if, like, let's say, okay, I'm already in a workout, I still have energy, I gotta go to the next workout, right? But
Yeah.
that can happen on and on. But there's also like, okay, how what are the cues for me to control that energy, or like uh, stop it from flowing in, for example, the physical, right? Like if I'm working out, let's say, or the emotional, the mental, like if I'm interacting socially with someone, um, I have to find out the cues of myself, uh, to kind of remove me from, or stop me from, or you know, uh, prevent me from putting my energy into something that's gonna do me more harm than good, or just dispensing energy in or wasting it, right? Like you're because there's it's also a discipline of like keeping your system consistent, right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
and that's a whole nother challenge itself, but that can be somewhat controlled by your willpower, and also more so how also that goes back to the whole physical. It's literally goes back to how you eat, how you train, and how you live your life.
exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. It's willpower, but also discipline, right? It's like people say. I got a friend yesterday who was like, "Connie, he's like, just forget motivation. I'm all about discipline, because discipline is the one thing that is real and builds things that are like that happen in real life, and it's not just fairy tales. It's not like motivation. Oh, I'm feeling pumped today, and then you're just on a high for a week, and then after that you're just okay. I gotta go back to you know
I still reckon motivation is very important, especially when starting. But as you said, discipline kicks in once the motivation fades.
exactly.
But also, I think to an extent, you can also self motivate yourself and be like, I need to achieve this, or I need to figure out how to solve this problem, or where to go in X period of time before anyone else. Like that self motivation that eventually turns into that discipline if it's over long enough time horizon.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's all a process. Some days I wake up and I tell myself, you got to stop lying to yourself and like asking. I just ask yourself, like, are you really stable to maintain what you have and your lifestyle today, right? And if the answer is no, then you have to work on something right now that's gonna, you know, fix that problem or cover that angle that's missed, or find the missing piece in the puzzle, that's gonna click everything back again, to maintain your life together.
Yeah,
I had a question though. I remember you said about your Olympic rowing experience. I
yeah.
was wondering what what was the exact vision you had, because you were super young when you had that vision, but like just just kind of like relive that experience. Like what was your vision like when you started off that journey? Like when you there was no action yet, there was no discipline that you had to take, there was no responsibility. It was just you and the rowing dream, or the dream of becoming an Olympic rower.
Yeah. So that pretty much started at States. And yeah, it started at States. What is it? Back when I was in year eight. No, year seven. Yeah, year seven. So I just finished off my first year of rowing. We just did stuff. Well, I think at second thing at States back in year seven, we got silver, and I'm like, I reckon there's a part of me that can do more. So I might as well push that part to see how much I can pursue this goal, and also because all I was doing was like eating. Well, once you get to high school, it's literally like work, not work. It's like sport, study, pretty much, and then normally you can correlate your foods with your training as well. It's a lot more. It feels a lot more flexible just because everything's all set in stone. Every day is the same. Very much.
You
If you
mean
just if you can
flexible
just
as in flexible as in you've kind of set your life's boundaries and you know what to do within those boundaries, so you're like free in that zone, you can say,
yeah.
but you're in the zone and you're free in that zone. So you're kind of flexible in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool.
But then pretty much where the vision came from is just a angry desire just to win because I'm very, very competitive
That's cool, man.
and I don't like losing, and like one of my goals was actually to get gold, and I got first the following year. Yeah, the following year, then ended up having an injury, and then it all just went away from there. But it was more so like, this is something I'm going to do. This is something I'm going to push myself. It was actually the best way to describe it is. It was the best way to describe like a. It's more so like a test, or more so like the vision was to see how far can I push myself in a certain element to get this certain desired result. Oh, and also to get gold and beat everyone. But that
That's
was
cool.
also another major part.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like you said, that angry desire to. Well, that was like a quote that I mean, the highlight of what you said. The angry desire to win. It's like, how bad
It's
do you.
all I wanted to do. It was all what I was thinking about. Literally, what I was doing in school, all I was doing was reading about how to get the perfect technique, how to get the perfect foods. I had
I
pretty much
actually
a
love that
fuck all
mindset.
social life. It was like, this is,
I remember
yeah.
I was like that when I started when I took studying really seriously, and people saw that, like especially in high school, like it was just that angry desire to win and that angry desire to succeed. And I did really well, like in school, like in high school, like I achieved like amazing results, like just where I'm from, like it's all human. For me, it's all human potential. It's not just genetics or like I was a child prodigy or something, right? I was actually just like, if I wasn't taking my life seriously and put myself into a discipline and a routine to do well in school, hell, there was no way I would have been where I'm at
Because
the
that
age.
would have just followed through, like, how you said with your uni and also what you're doing now. Since you're a spacecraft software engineer, it's also like very much applicable there because it's just literally work. I've got to put my best. I also have sometimes those long hours.
Yeah, 100%. I've done long hours. I've done some nights where I'm like up at like midnight. You know, some days I have a solution to a problem that's literally some nights I'm not. I kid you not. It feels like Thomas Edison, where I have the solution, like I'm sleeping, right? And it's like 8 a.m. and then I just feel something just flicker like on my eyelids, like just light just flickering, and I'm like shit. And then next thing you know, I'm already thinking about the solution, and then I just start executing like the steps and like the code and everything, and then everything just works out. It's crazy. But like some days it's literally like you have to do it, right? Like there's no choice, so you have to do it. It's like it's written for you. It's literally written for you
Yeah.
because you're scripting it, you're writing the code, and it's just coming out, and everything's set in place for it to work. You know, that's what engineers do in the end, right? Like we're like at every age we have like these milestones in humanity that we have to, like, I'm talking humbly, like, but I'm saying big guys like Thomas Edison. Now it's like Elon Musk, right? Before
Yeah.
there were big
Elon
engineers
Musk
doing
is also
crazy
like
things.
a very much as you said, like he's very much got that sort of light bulb, but also he's technically in two boats, but it's like how can he maintain obviously the engineering side as well as the actual financial side. So it's like he's got like a
Yeah.
double
And
line
not
help.
just that, even his personal life. Like if you look at Elon Musk's personal life, this guy has like what, two sons. He has a family. He actually has a family he has to take care of also. And I don't
Yeah,
know how he's like in a relationship with this I forgot her name, but I don't know if she was an actress or a singer, but she looked like super young. I was like, wow, that's insane. I don't
I
know,
got a
he's
feeling
doing
she's
all of
another
that.
baby mama.
Yeah, and then he named this baby like some code name,
Yeah,
some like angelic code name or something. I was like, what? But yeah, I mean that's his life. Like I can't really judge. Like, you know, the things he's accomplished in his life. You have to have like a kind of like a crazy mental divide. You know, I was also talking to you about Jack Parsons, the guy who
Yeah,
basically,
that is, yeah.
for me, he's like the inventor of rocket science. But like you saw the kind of life that he lived, right? Like he was living like basically a duality every like his day was like doing rocket science and building rocket fuel for like NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, and then at night he'd be doing like this next level thing, right?
It's a
And he
bit
was
like the
part of like a
Batman,
cult or
but
something. Yeah, he was like part of a cult or something, right?
yeah,
And
and also other activities. Let's just leave it as that.
I mean,
We were a bit, you know,
that's also one thing that I actually what I'm careful of in engineering is when you enter this realm of magic, because a lot of things like when they happen, people are like, "Oh yeah, this is magic," but I feel like in this day and age, believing in things like magic makes it beautiful, but it or just saying that it's a miracle, like or it's like a sign. It's just a description, right? But like when it comes down to it, and what we've achieved with science, and a lot of this famous quote on magic is just seen as inexplicable causes and effects that came together. And when you have like a scientific theory or a mathematical approach or just something that breaks it down in a logical, symbolic way, there's magic is there's no such like magic isn't there anymore. It's no longer magic. It's just evidence based proof that things happened. And
I think there's a little bit of degree of magic just because we actually made it work as more so as a phrase. Like that magical thing of, let's just say, inventing. But obviously, with the evidence and study, that was all applicable. That wouldn't be done unless, we didn't have the magical way of our ability to think or ability to do.
it's not really magical in the sense because we're still our brains can be seen as like, yeah, you can say it's like there's only magic because you can't explain it. That's what I mean. You can't
Yeah.
explain it, or you don't have like a logical way of looking at it. So the last thing, what could be a last resort of, okay, yeah, it's magic, right? But there's always an explanation for anything, like a logical explanation of how things came together, and how they manifested and everything. At the end of the
But
day,
also, to the same extent, you could just say you just spoke it into existence.
yeah, you can say it that way too. Like it manifested or it came into existence. Like
Yeah.
be and it is, right? Like that's what we believe in. Like how our Creator made it. He just said be and it is, and it just happened. It's yeah.
That's that's
So
that's true magic. That's true magic.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
You can we using words like magic in that sense. Like you can use better words like just saying that it's written by God. It's decreed. These are better ways of describing it, right? Magic is I would say like maybe an ignorant way or a lesser way of looking at it. I'm not to offend people who actually believe in magic because everyone has their own beliefs, but yeah, it's just there are better ways. There's better ways of describing reality. Sean Carroll, he had. I remember that. I don't know if I talked about this in a previous episode, but Sean Carroll, he wrote this nice book called The Big Picture, and he basically talks about uh, this way of it's like a philosophy in a sense or a way of looking at life where he calls it poetic naturalism, where like you can there's at every level a way of or description of reality, like from a scientist, from a physicist, from a investment,
Banker. Yeah.
banker, yeah, or from like a real estate agent, or even a mother or father. There's just at every level there's a different way of describing reality, and for that person or point of view, uh, it's logical, it makes sense, and it works, right?
Yeah.
So then he goes on to saying poetic naturalism is, he adds the term poetic, meaning this beautiful way of describing it, right? This way of describing it that's like that kind of like respects the way things emerged, or the way they were manifested or came together to be. So he describes it as poetic, right?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful way. It's a beautiful way of looking at it, right? It's a way where you actually express gratitude, and it makes sense, right? There's no cognitive dissonance. There's no feelings of awkwardness, or So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of the conclusion he made and everything in that book was super nice, making sense of it all. But still missing pieces. There's still big questions to be answered. There's still more to dig and discover. It's a never-ending process, right? Like
I guess that's part of the enjoyment of life, really.
yeah,
The never-ending process of finding stuff or finding. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think we went overboard like 34 minutes, but I think it's a good episode.